So fellowship is, Achha. So fellowship is about finding a right mentor. And I suppose today is a wonderful day to find a mentor because today we celebrate Guru Purnima. While I was sitting here, there were like hundreds of messages flooding about the Guru Purnima. But yes, indeed, it is finding a good mentor who will shape or mold your future. And if gone are the days when people used to go for fellowship just to get tags to put it across their clinic or get a very good attachment in a corporate job. Now if you want to do good in future, you need to have a very good, nice, strong foundation. And that's how the fellowship planning has to begin. So when it comes to pediatric ortho, you really need to have a lot of passion to take up it. And it might sound like a child's play, but it's just not. Whatever you have learned 3 years as an MS ortho, that doesn't apply in PEDORTH at all. Everything changes, right? From trauma to even managing cold cases. And now when you go for fellowship, you are doing an additional studies in pediatrics. So now you start learning dosage and syndromes and other things which you never studied as an ortho. So you might feel little out of the place that I was doing something else and now suddenly this feels different. There are young SRs or post-MS guys and girls who come for fellowship, but they don't like it eventually because probably the master's was very different. And suddenly the PEDORTH you feel lost, where you are trying to check on the milestones of the kid, trying to check a howling kid. So that's why you need extreme passion to take up pediatric ortho. Plus it's a long curve because now it's orthopedic for young adults. Because here you'll have to learn a lot of other subspecialties in ortho. So pediatric ortho, unlike the other fellowship, is not a single fellowship, but you again need to decide what would you like to subspecialize in a pediatric ortho, and then pick up a center or a place or a hospital which helps you do that. So like suppose a pediatric spine would have to go to certain centers where a lot of scoliosis or deformity correction for the spine is being done. It's not going to be done in all the places. So for that you would want to look at such a place where this is done. And similarly for the other branches. So when I decided to take up pediatric ortho, my aim was to focus at more of neuromuscular disorders. So you need to build a very strong foundation. Once you finish your MS, nobody is going to give you a fellowship directly. You need to do a SR-ship first. Otherwise, no one takes you a fresh houseman or a fresh one passed who has just cleared the MS exam as a fellow with them. So yes, a SR-ship is at times important, and that's what we consider when we pick a fellow, that how much basic trauma or basic things they have achieved. So how to build a good foundation when you want to focus on a fellowship and have a long-term plan where you want to do some fellowships inland as well as go to a foreign setup. So first of all, if you decide that you want to do pediatric ortho, you'll have certain hospitals in the mind that where does basic pediatric ortho work done in a lot of bulk quantity. So these are some of the places all across the country where there are dedicated pediatric ortho departments with 5 to 10 consultants, especially doing their own specialized work. And that's how you get a very base strong and you decide what you want to further do in pediatric ortho. So when I had the opportunity, I had option of Cardia Hospital. And later now, we have, other than the inland fellowships, then you have the university fellowship. And then there are POSI accredited fellowship, that is the consultant fellowship. Could probably want to do a fellowship. That's what we always thought when we began fellowship, because everyone wanted to do want to do pediatric ortho, you have to be a George Research fellow. So that's how it was. So MUHS has a 6 months to 1 year fellowship at 2 of these institutes, and there is one which is being accredited at Pune as well recently. And MUHS gives you an opportunity to have an entrance exam. So there's an entrance exam and you get a center out of this 2 or 3 centers. And there's also an exit exam at the end of the fellowship. So you get an accredited MUHS fellowship from this certain place. And Pediatric Ortho Society of India, that is the POSI, we offer certain fellowships. So there's a K. Wilkins Inland Fellowship. It's a short-term fellowship of 2 months where you pick a center, which I showed in the first slide, all the Indian centers, and you can go and visit that place for 2 months. And in Gujarat, they have like 3 or 4 consultants where you can rotate with them. And every year there are different hospitals for this K. Wilkins Fellowship program. Other than this, we have a POSI Canadian Fellowship where the fellows get an opportunity to be in the structured fellowship program, either at 2 or 3 centers in Canada. So the Pediatric Ortho Society of India has a collaboration with the Pediatric Canadian Ortho Society, and they have helped to get our fellows there and do a nice 1-year structured fellow program without getting into the match program. Now, getting into the match program is very difficult when it comes to MLE or even for Canada. So being a POSI fellow helps to get into this. So how do you become a POSI fellow? So the POSI member, so that again has a criteria that you should have a basic 2 years exposure or 1 year exposure in pediatric ortho. So last year we decided to change that criteria. So that's why doing a basic fellowship first in our country is important, because the base has to be strong. Directly going to a foreign country where the syndromes or the presentations of pediatric problems are different doesn't help much. So that is about POSI Canadian Fellowship. Similarly, the POSI has a program with UK, but that is little variable. It's not annually and it doesn't have a structure. It again depends on the position vacant. It needs certain scores and it needs a GMC registration. So if you have given the IELTS and you have a good score and you have acquired the GMC registration number, then probably you can have the POSI UK fellowship. So all of these fellowships, they open, most of these are annually, and the UK one is once in 2 years, and occasionally even maybe it gets delayed. So all of these are available on the website of the Pediatric Ortho Society of India. Now coming to the international fellowship. So we want to look somewhere closer around, apart from the bigger continents. So South Korea, Hong Kong and Singapore, all of these have very good pediatric ortho programs, and they're all structured programs. And if you have a good standing certificate and an MMC or MCI certain paperwork done from our country, they even allow you to scrub and work as a clinical fellow in most of this hospital. So you actually work like you're working in our country, and you get an opportunity to scrub, interact with patients, touch them or evaluate them, and then be part of the regular teaching for the residents. So these 3 countries promote that. So each of this place, so the NUH and the KK Women and Children, these are 2 places where they offer 6 months and 1 year fellowship program for pediatric ortho. The waiting time is really long. I mean, you need to apply and wait probably 1 or 2 years. The paperwork is extremely tedious. For Singapore, the paperwork is extremely tedious. One of my past fellows, she's been waiting since last year to get into Singapore. The paperwork is still not done. I mean, it is that tedious. But yeah, you get a full hands-on experience. You get to operate and be with patients, be with the entire department as you would here. In Hong Kong, the Duchess of Kent Children's Hospital is one of the best places there. And they also offer 6 months fellowship, and same as the other Asian countries. And now South Korea is like a hub of fellowship. When I was doing my fellowship there, somewhere around close by 3-4 hospitals, we were around a dozen of Indians, young Indians, all of us who were doing fellowships in different subjects. So there is a lot of fellowship opportunities in South Korea. For pediatric ortho, these three universities or hospital offer the best fellowship programs. So usually their fellowship programs are accredited with certain university like Yonsei University or Korean University or SNU University kind of thing. And then they have their own children's hospital. All of these, they give a very good structured fellow program. So structured in the sense it's a long-term fellowship. It has a proper program where you are supposed to work like a junior consultant level in India. So that's what means as structured. And then there are other short-term fellowships which work. I was with the Children's Hospital of Yonsei University and I got the 1-year clinical program fellow there. So the good part was I had an hands-on experience and I had already chosen after that I want to learn more of neuromuscular. So this center was known to see around 100 CP children in a day in a OPD and a huge bulk of lot of neuromuscular work. And equally I was interested in gait analysis. So that in 2009, South Korea, in Seoul itself, there were 11 gait labs, while we never have even that much in our entire country. So in the city itself, there were 11 gait analysis labs, and they were really far ahead of us in terms of teaching. The Koreans really like to teach and they mingle with you very friendly way. They treat you very nice. They are a very friendly population, so you don't need to worry to go there. Crime rate is totally zero. So when you go there, you just feel at home, it's safe, and they have a very nice teaching in terms of morning classes. You are supposed to train the residents in the cadaveric lab on the bone models and take regular chapter reading. So they have a chapter reading where the book is partially English and partially Korean, and they expect the foreign fellow to teach them to go through the English part of it. So it of course had good opportunities, and they equally gave me opportunities with my co-fellow. So every co-fellow was allowed to attend what we say like a collab hospital either in Germany or US, and I got the equal opportunities what my co-fellow had in terms of TA, the traveling allowance, and DA as well. So this is the entire ortho department. These are the only fellows. So these are bosses and fellows at the end of 1-year fellowship program. So that's what a structured program means, that it begins at a particular date and it ends at a particular date, and it is in a way structured. Then there is the Korean University program. So that is not a structured program, that you can just go for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So once you're done with a long-term fellowship program, how you should plan the next things? Of course, there are certain shortcomings with the Asian countries in terms of language and food. But if food is not a concern, then you're going to have a very good time at Korea. And languages, the staff eventually teaches you to do basic interaction in the OPD and in the OT as well. So what works during all of this fellowship, that you have to be sincere. The Asian guys are very strict, be it Japan, Korea. They want everyone in the hospital dot at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. So being sincere and diligent is what takes you in a longer run in a better place for them. And we need to present and publish. And while you're there, try to make contacts with other fellows from other countries. Because when you come back and you start practicing, they are the ones who are going to invite you to their country for certain meetings or certain other programs. And while doing all this, you need to grow, being from a medical student to a consultant. So this all helps during the fellowship as well. So how my one fellowship got me to another one. So for the American fellowship, I didn't do a MLE program, but the Severance Hospital where I was attached, that had a tie-up with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, America. It's one of the best children's hospital. And so from Korea itself, they did my paperwork to go to US, which was a very good opportunity for me. And basically it's an observer post. Now this was totally different. Here I couldn't even evaluate the patient. It was not even allowed to touch them or check them. It was that strict. And you just stand and you observe them, and this was totally non-paid. There was no stipend in this program. So it was all self-sponsored. So what I would suggest in general is to have a very good, strong foundation in terms of doing a local fellowship program in our own country. Let that boss or mentor refer you to a higher center. Build a good, strong, whatever fellowship you want to take, 1 year, 1.5 years, do that. Another short fellowship in some other country where you get a different perspective. Now surgeries are same. All you get is different perspectives of and small little skills or things you learn what the bosses are doing. And after those programs, come back and start practicing for a while. So 1, 2, 3 years you should practice, and then again go back for short fellowship programs. So it's not that suddenly you come back and it's going to be a very glorified practice. No, you'll come back and you'll sit for days and months with very few patients if you are thinking of a very high subspecialty branch. So you'll be waiting for patients most of the time. So it's important that those growing years, whatever you have learned and whatever you have experienced and practiced, you go back. And the short program should be to share your experiences with the foreign faculty. Because at that point, now you know that what you're expecting from a place, and then you get more of experience when you're with them. Okay. So to conclude, I would say that yes, you need to have an outline plan. You need to outline a plan, because you start this when you are doing your masters. If you are not able to decide the subject, then just think of doing a SRship in a place which has all the subspecialties. And maybe then you can decide what you want to do. And you need to work towards it, because if you don't work towards it in terms of building a CV, doing presentations in clinical meetings and our local conferences, that is what is going to help you. A strong foundation is very important. You need to have a vision. You look at the staircase, but you need to take the first step. So you start with the small steps. It's not going to be suddenly you get all the fellowships, and you need to apply in many places. It's not just 1 or 2 applications and you're sitting. So I had literally applied to 8 or 10 places before starting while I was at Wadia. So it takes a long time, because it's a thing you need to build up gradually. And in all this while, remain focused. It's very easy to lose focus of fellowship, because you think one of your batchmate has started his own clinic, he's nicely, happily sitting there practicing. But at some point, these guys get bored who just do a general practice, because at some point of time, they feel that they have been doing the routine stuff. And at a very short, young age in life, a boredom sets on them. And then they start fellowships at a later age. Then you will see certain people who come for the programs and courses way late in age 40, 45. So remain focused. It's okay. You need to give at least 3 to 4 years for the fellowships after SRship. There's no hurry to start clinical practice unless you have some certain responsibilities. Otherwise, 3 to 4 years is a must to take up a subspecialty. And learn, practice, and keep learning. It's a never-ending process. Even after a few years, you should take up some traveling programs and go visit some other countries, see what they're doing, come back and do those things in your own setup. So thank you, everyone. And lastly, you'll always wonder that is it worthwhile putting 3-4 years in it? And believe all of us, we are here, we have done this, and yes, indeed, it is worthwhile. So the whole PowerPoint is here in case you all want to go back and check the places or the options. So thank you so much.